Asia Wilson's just a big bully. Look at this. Throws Lexi Hall on the ground. Everything she does is illegal. Look at this one. A moving screen and then pushes Lexi Hall. You think they ever call a foul on Asia Wilson?
The Las Vegas Aces started forcefully with elbows, flops, and dirty tactics, yet the Indiana Fever never wavered. Whenever Asia Wilson got physical or Vegas tried to bully, Indiana answered back with speed, intensity, and pure grit. What Vegas intended as intimidation became sheer desperation, and as Kelsey Mitchell quieted the crowd with clutch shot after clutch shot, it felt less like points and more like payback. This is more than just a victory. It's about how the Fever unveiled dirty tactics and used Vegas's own arrogance against them. And what did Lexi Hall have to say after taking the brunt of Asia Wilson's questionable plays? Comment Fever Show to show your support for the Fever, despite all the adversity thrown against them. Let's go. Long before the game,
some disturbing footage has come out featuring Asia Wilson and her entire Las Vegas Aces team trying to pretty much flop, assault, do whatever they can to get that win yesterday, but it was just not enough, guys. This is some disturbing content, man. Listen.
Lexi Hall was getting pushed all game. Look at that. Like elbowed, pushed, but guess who fell? That's an illegal screen.
Look, illegal screens at this point, they playing dirty.
Not in the least. Entering the game, the Aces were billed as the overwhelming favorites. The media narrative suggested Indiana hardly belonged on the same court. That storyline was written well before they hit the court. Vegas had the titles, the big names, the winning streak. Indiana had a team missing 6 key players due to injuries. Caitlin Clark was unavailable. Sophie Cunningham was also out. Sydney Colson was on the sidelines. And the injury list continued from there. To most analysts, this matchup looked lopsided, a foregone conclusion, and that arrogant certainty flowed directly to the Vegas bench, where Coach Becky Hammond had stated that the Fever hadn't faced the true Aces yet. The message was unmistakable. This was meant to be a dominant performance. But as Vegas enjoyed all that pre-game attention, the Fever were regarded as a mere footnote. You could sense it in how the commentators discussed them. Indiana was seen as an afterthought, another obstacle for the Aces to push past on their path to another championship. And frankly, this all worked to the Fever's advantage, because when no one thinks you can win, you play without restraint. You don't carry that pressure, you remove it from the equation entirely, and that liberty was clear from the opening tip.
What the hell? Y'all playing super duper dirty. But this is how they was playing. Let's see.
Leans into Lexi Hall, pushes her. Look at this. Pushes Lexi Hall down. Like, I can't take this crap. I'm sick of watching it over and over. That's a moving screen. And then pushes her again. Look at that.
In what appeared to be a deliberate act of aggression. At first, it looked like just another heated play in a high-stakes game. But when the slow-motion angles began circulating, fans saw something much darker. Wilson's arm making forceful contact, leaving Hull stumbling back in pain.
So Caitlin was calling flop. I'm pretty sure everybody's seeing them flopping all over the damn place. I mean, they was hella flopping in this game. I mean, it was bad, bro.
Rather than buckle under the pressure, Indiana challenged Vegas with tempo immediately. The ball moved swiftly, their shots were falling, and the Aces, despite their confidence, seemed a step behind. Suddenly, the pressure wasn't on Indiana. It had shifted to Las Vegas. The reigning champs, expected to cruise, were now in a dogfight they hadn't prepared for. It is incredible how fast confidence can curdle into panic when the underdog will not break. By night's end, the narrative everyone dismissed was the headline. 72% of teams that take Game 1 in a best-of-5 go on to win the series. Aja Wilson really set a terrible example. Instead of leading with talent, she attempted to dominate physically, but not in a way that secures victories. She was throwing elbows off the ball, bumping players after the play, and on a couple of fast breaks gave pushes that were unrelated to blocking shots. Her flops were equally blatant, falling as if hit by a freight train when replays revealed only minor contact. At one stage, she hooked a player's arm on a rebound, then dramatically fell to the court as if she were the one fouled. These antics were notable because they were less about genuine competition.
And Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 80 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish. There was a small little patch there in the third quarter. We started saying, are the Aces gonna come back? But Kelsey Mitchell and Odyssey Sims said, no, they're not going to come back. Not at all.
And the Aces took her cue. Jackie Young was throwing her body on screens, delivering hits that looked more like football plays than basketball moves. Players off the ball were catching hips and shoulders they never saw coming, all passed off as just physical play. It all disrupted the game's flow, but it never rattled Indiana. If anything, the Fever seemed to smile through it, embracing the chaos and playing with even more focus in return. Every hard foul seemed to ignite a spark in Indiana's lineup. That is the irony here. The Aces, led by their newly honored MVP, were expected to be calm in the biggest moments. Instead, they showed their nerves. By stooping to playground-level tactics, they effectively admitted they were being outplayed on skill alone. Each flop, each shove, each sign of frustration demonstrated that Indiana's tenacity had completely eroded their confidence. And as Vegas got lost in its own frustration, Kelsey Mitchell provided the perfect response to the Aces' behavior. She scored 34 points with incredible efficiency, carving up their defense when they tried to make it a physical fight. Vegas could shove her on her way to the hoop. They could talk trash all game, but she just kept draining critical jumpers. Each shot served as a statement. Vegas could win the scuffles after the whistle, but they were losing the battle where it counted most. For all the MVP awards and titles in the Aces arena, no player had a scoring performance quite like Mitchell's.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
Mitchell high arc on the shot and a couple of soft bounces, and she had help. Odyssey Sims played like a seasoned pro who was built for this exact stage. Her drives to the basket were fearless. She was a pest on defense, and she calmed the entire team when the game got messy. You could watch her guide teammates through possessions, controlling the pace when Vegas wanted mayhem, then taking over with a drive to the hoop. That composure, that refusal to answer cheap plays with more of them, kept Indiana's focus sharp. Natasha Howard and Breonna Turner battling inside against Wilson and the others didn't let the rough play affect their performance. They held their positions, rotated perfectly, and made life difficult for the Aces. It wasn't flashy, it was disciplined defense, the kind that exposes a team taking frustrated shortcuts. And we can't forget Lexi Hull. She may not have the highlight plays, but her defense on Jackie Young was devastating for Vegas. She kept her contained, forced her to work for points, and posted a plus 24 plus minus, a game high. That isn't just luck, that is measurable impact. The Fever didn't just withstand a game meant to throw them off their rhythm. They soundly beat the Aces on their home court. Wilson's final line was just 6 for 22 from the field. For a player honored just hours before as the league's best, that statistic was jarring. And it was not an accident. Boston, with help from Breonna Turner and Natasha Howard, ran a game plan that congested the paint and denied Wilson her favorite spots. Rather than easy post moves and spins, she was met by physicality and length from all sides. The Aces never found their normal offensive flow because Indiana's interior defense completely shut them down. Shots were challenged, boards were secured, and Wilson, for all her effort, just never found her groove.
Like, we died on screens. You have to have second and third efforts. Even if you know you might be beat, you still have to try hard to get back into the play, and I don't think we tried hard in that category.
Money Mitch, put him in a ditch! Who on the Las Vegas Aces is going to try to stop Kelsey Mitchell? Because from what I just saw, they had no answer for her. Kirsten Bell, line right up, smacked. Jackie Young, step right up, torched. Chelsea Gray, torched. Jewel Lloyd, torched. Nobody could hang with Kelsey Mitchell as she goes off.
The difference between the two centers couldn't have been more stark. While Boston was composed, executing the plan and never forcing it, Wilson became increasingly annoyed. She started flopping for calls, complaining to officials, and launching contested shot after contested shot. Still, Las Vegas failed to adjust. Coach Becky Hammond, rather than praising Indiana's dodged the topic after the game. She mentioned their missed shots and errors, but failed to admit that Boston had clearly won that one-on-one matchup. That lack of acknowledgement just underscored how much Indiana's front court had taken control. There was a sense of poetic justice in it all. Wilson got her award in the afternoon, but by evening she was leaving her own court after being outplayed by a second-year player in her first big playoff series. The key difference wasn't just raw power, it was poise. Boston remained calm, made adjustments, and never let them. In the Fever's locker room, the mood reflected that same energy. And when Lexi Hull, who was pushed and shoved all game long, finally spoke, her sentiment captured everything her team displayed. We're capable of whatever we want. That is the very question for Game 2. Can Indiana use this exact strategy to defeat Vegas on their home floor once more? One game is won, with 2 more needed, and the stats suggest this has opened a huge door for the Indiana Fever. In a best-of-5 series, almost 3 of every 4 teams that win Game 1 advance. This implies it wasn't simply a great road victory, it was a fundamental change in the series outlook. The Aces had won 18 of their last 19 contests, but that hot streak ended the moment Indiana entered their arena and seized home court advantage. Now Vegas is in uncharted waters. They were humbled at home, their star player was neutralized, and their coach conceded post-game that her team lacked Indiana's intensity. This means Game 2 is about making changes, and they will likely try to slow the pace, target Kelsey Mitchell, and get Wilson easier looks closer to the hoop. It wouldn't be a shock if Jackie Young is attached to Mitchell's hip to stop her from going off again. Indiana, on the other hand, can play loose with no pressure. Stephanie White has her players confident, their locker room is buzzing, and the injured roster is cheering like extra coaches. Game 2 is more than just sustaining momentum. The Fever did more than just steal a game in Vegas. They completely altered the narrative. On the night Asia Wilson was named MVP, Indiana put the Las Vegas Aces in their place and earned their first Feast Final win in a decade. Just consider that. An injury-depleted roster went into the most hostile environment in the league and made history. Don't forget, teams that take the first game of a best-of-5 tend to win the series, so this is more than an upset. It's a potential turning point. Now the question is direct. Can the Fever continue this incredible run? Because if they can, the entire landscape shifts. Comment Fever Show to show your support for the Fever despite all the adversity thrown at you.
We've got to keep the main thing, and that is us playing to a standard of basketball that we want to have as an Indiana Fever organization and franchise. We've got to keep our layers, the outside, the people in our building, and the people in our locker room. And the thing I'm just so proud of with this group is it doesn't matter who's on the floor, it doesn't matter who's on our roster. They give each other the freedom to be themselves. They empower one another to be themselves and to be the best version of themselves. And every time we've had a change, every time we've brought someone in, every time we've had rotational changes, they're for each other. They live the we over the me. And when you have that, it just gives you opportunities to do really special things.
How do you feel about the performance, the urgency, and the response you had when they made a couple runs late?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, our group has seen it all. We wanted to come in and be the aggressor right away to make sure that we were dictating on the defensive end and we were dictating from a pace standpoint. They're champions for a reason. We knew that they were going to make runs. They made a big one in the third, and we responded with a big one. I'm proud of our team. It's one game. It's a long series, so we got to keep the main thing. But to come in here and to be able to steal this one was big for us.